What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Became the 10 Tails in DC Part 10. Now let's begin. Welcome to Night Watch News. We appreciate all our viewers joining us this evening. This evening's report will primarily focus on the recent Gotham battle occurring between two opposing sides. It is concerning to note that national crime rates have reached unprecedented levels. Central City News, Linda Park reporting live from the epicenter of the Justice League's confrontation with the unidentified extraterrestrial aliens that invaded Central City last month. Central City is at the forefront of facing an economic crisis. The value of land has decreased significantly as residents are selling their properties and leaving the city urgently. Virtual congestion regarding capital taxes. The recent absence of Superman has led to a significant increase in criminal activity in Metropolis. Today, we are situated at one of the largest private research facilities globally. The Venom Corporation building, previously home to numerous state-of-the-art facilities and generating an annual turnover of hundreds of millions of dollars, now stands in ruins. A significant increase in arson attacks. A significant number of innocent civilians have lost their lives, with many others sustaining injuries. The Exco Group was completely destroyed by unidentified members of an intergang equipped with advanced weaponry. What is the location of the Justice League during critical situations? Initiating bankruptcy proceedings under Chapter 11. The stock market of major U.S. companies has experienced a significant decline. Inflation is increasing rapidly, with figures reaching double digits. The real estate market is witnessing a significant downturn for the first time in years. Is all of America transitioning to the new Gotham? America is experiencing a series of attacks. Are all these coordinated? This appears to be a conspiracy theory, in my opinion. The Justice League continues to withhold a statement regarding the recent battle in Gotham City involving the enigmatic Deviant. That appears to be the name that the majority are adopting. Are the members of the Justice League unaccounted for? Where have they disappeared to? Our sources indicate that the League may have been subjected to mind control. It is my considered view that the global community should remain vigilant. Following the recent incident in Central City, the anti-hero campaign has significantly ramped up its efforts. The ongoing increase in defamatory remarks highlights a significant concern since the advent of superheroes in our society. The rising conflicts have encroached upon the general populace, placing an ever-growing number of innocent lives at risk. While there has been no visible action to resolve the issues related to the Justice League and superheroes overall, it raises concerns among the public. Are superheroes genuinely the solution, or could they potentially be the issue? United States location confidential. Maple Bridge Avenue. CAF. A teenage female with exquisite features and long flowing hair appeared on the news report displayed on the tablet, her expression reflecting a sense of puzzlement. It is indeed quite surprising. A man seated across from her inquired with curiosity. Is this the experience of the inhabitants of this planet? After a brief pause, she responded with a question. The news reports have been removed from the display. Essentially, the man spoke in a relaxed manner. Earth is a unique location within the universe. It consistently remains the case, similar across nearly every universe. The individual donned a fitted t-shirt paired with long trousers, featuring star-like eyes with purple irises that occasionally emitted a subtle shimmer. He raised an eyebrow at the woman who remained silent, appearing to be in deep contemplation. What is your assessment of the situation? His gentle voice reached her ears. For some reason, it elicited a subtle sensation that caused her body to shift slightly. Minimally perceptible. The blonde adjusted her hair behind her ears and responded. Disorderly. This was the sole term she could employ to articulate her observations. In contrast to her home planet, characterized by order, peace, and adherence to rules, Earth appeared and resonated with the chaotic nature of the lawless civilizations documented in the Kryptonian archives. Planets accommodating outlaws, criminals, bounty hunters, and individuals sought after throughout the universe. Given the convergence of numerous individuals with potentially harmful intentions, many of whom are equipped with advanced weaponry, and the absence of a governing body exercising definitive control over the planet, the existence of such locations is indeed comprehensible. She found it increasingly perplexing that a location like Earth could be compared to such a place. At least those planets operated without a governing body. They were not able to meet the criteria for classification as civilizations. Correct. He nodded with a sense of calm assurance. That is their way of life. The inhabitants of this planet are engaging in self-destructive behaviors. She spoke in a subdued tone. Indifferent. It has not reached that stage yet, however. If all proceeds as expected, they will arrive there in due course. The Earth in every DC universe serves as a focal point for various challenges, conflicts, and threats. The number of disasters it attracted was significant. Even if humanity were to avoid self-destruction, it is likely that external forces would intervene in a detrimental manner. The woman raised an eyebrow. You appear to be somewhat indifferent. Please provide a compelling reason for my consideration. He responded, bowing his head to examine the menu. Upon reflection, he had not consumed any food for the past month. Even though it was unnecessary, now that he had been persuaded to come out here, he might as well take a bite. Are you aware that these news reports are discussing you? She stated, gesturing with the tablet in her hand. It appears that there has been a noticeable increase in communication since the acquisition of English language skills. His expression remained unchanged as he responded without lifting his gaze. The woman was rendered somewhat speechless. Her expression conveyed a blend of modesty and self-satisfaction as she replied. Jai acquis bien plus que la maîtrise de Langley. At this moment, he found himself at a loss for words. Certainly. Adjusting to a completely new culture and acquiring proficiency in 7 languages within a week. Your capabilities as Kryptonians are truly impressive. He responded, accommodating her with a light-hearted tone. Please proceed with placing your order at your earliest convenience. The woman remained silent and proceeded to pick up the menu. While she was reading, she observed a shadow cast above her. Understood, I will proceed with the sausage and peas, French fries, apple pie, a cappuccino, chili labna eggs, and pancakes. The waitress voice prompted Kara to glance over. Unknown situated outside of Los Angeles, date TBD. Flagging the status report. Amanda Waller's voice resonated through the intercom. Reporting, Asset A is en route and all operations are proceeding as planned. The area appears to be secured based on our assessment. Rick stated within the fully armored transport van. What is the status of the decoys? Waller inquired once more. There have been no reports of attacks on the other convoys. Acknowledged. Exercise caution, flag. Ensure there are no delays or detours. The asset is crucial to retain. Proceeding directly to the airport in the next 20 minutes. The only aspect of significance is the robot components within those cases. The serious tone was sufficient to convey the importance of the matter to him. What is the status of the League? Rick inquired with uncertainty. Should we anticipate any type of assistance? 3 escort vehicles, containing nearly 20 special operations agents, each equipped with extensive armament, are transporting within fully armored vehicles. The Wolf Unit. Flag's personal squadron consists of the finest elite members available in the country. Prior to the superhero era, they were regarded as the elite in their field. The pinnacle of human capability, exhibiting strength and skill that exceed the typical human standard. When the government required a task to be accomplished, they were the preferred contact. There was simply no other justification. Their quality was exceptional. Flag, at the age of 35, had participated in more wars and encountered more battles than many retired veteran soldiers. He had witnessed the most harrowing aspects of what the world had to offer. Despite all of that, he would willingly trade this escort mission for the opportunity to carry out an assassination of a president. At least that task remained feasible. However, this situation presents a significant risk. If a single individual with extraordinary abilities were to target their cargo, the consequences could be dire within the next year. Ultimately, regardless of their capabilities, he and his squad remained human in the most fundamental sense. They lacked significant strength or metahuman abilities. Their roles entailed covertly infiltrating enemy territories to retrieve stolen government intelligence from competing nations. Neutralizing an adversary's installation, disarming explosives, retrieving pilfered warheads, plutonium. All items within that category. Whatever you require. They represented the equivalent of James Bond and Ethan Hunt's Mission Impossible team in this universe. Transporting this item was the responsibility of the League. That was his belief, at the very least. Nevertheless, the government employed all available measures to have it removed from League custody. Given the public sentiment regarding League actions, which was increasingly becoming tumultuous, along with their inherent aversion towards them, it raises the question of how they could entrust transportation to such an entity. Transport Command Center. Confidential Observation Center, Washington, D.C. Everything appears to be in order, ma'am. There are currently no concerns to address at this time. A man continued to tap on his computer without glancing back. Excellent. Waller stated without displaying any emotion on her face. Amanda distinguished herself among the many individuals in the room for several reasons. The primary reason that comes to mind for anyone is her physical stature. At a height of 5'1" and a weight of 200 pounds 91 kilograms, the politician and government agent was notably prominent in any setting. However, those who attempted to engage with her based on initial impressions would quickly come to understand that they were confronting a formidable challenge. This individual exhibited a formidable persona, complemented by a notably tragic history that contributed to her complexity. Her unwavering determination and assertive demeanor, along with her unwillingness to find common ground with others, constituted the second reason. No. Remaining steadfast in her resolute and assertive demeanor, she unequivocally denied Rick's inquiry. This is a routine government operation. The League is unaware, and it is my responsibility to maintain that confidentiality. There was a brief moment of silence from Flag. Reason instructed him to remain silent, to refrain from speaking, to set aside all inquiries and assumptions, and to proceed with the mission as he had consistently done. Similar to a fallen soldier. No ifs, ands, or buts. Please proceed to follow the instructions provided with discretion and attentiveness. Logic continuously urged him in one direction, yet his emotions led him in another. These were his personnel. Several individuals had been present since his formative years. Some had passed away during the journey, which only deepened his appreciation for those who remained. They shared a deeper connection than mere friendship. The individuals in question were siblings. If he chose not to question despite recognizing all of this, what does that say about his character? However, what are the implications if the operation is compromised? Amanda's gaze sharpened as she listened to his words through the intercom. Her face contorted slightly, altering her features as she responded in a firm tone. Attention Flag, I have dedicated considerable time to briefing the President on the potential risks that these vigilantes with abilities pose to our national security. The Congress invested significant effort to reclaim control of this asset from their possession. It is concerning that individuals are allowed to present themselves as heroes while taking the law into their own hands within our nation. Requesting their assistance to escort the asset to our desired location undermines the integrity of the American government. This is an issue I will not accept. I will not accept the possibility of this mission encountering difficulties. Please focus on your responsibilities and allow me to handle mine. Should everything proceed as planned, you and your team will receive recognition for your efforts. I believe it is unnecessary for me to inform you of the outcomes otherwise. Quietude. The Flag on the opposite side caused his expression to momentarily turn cold. He understood Waller's character and recognized that this animated, human-shaped figure would comply with her directives. However, being threatened does not sit well with anyone except the timid. Waller frowned as he encountered silence on the other end. As the seconds elapsed in silence, Waller finally initiated the conversation. Please be assured that, as outlined in our agreement, I will not hold you accountable should you face a situation that exceeds your capabilities. Simply continue with the mission. Rick attentively listened for a period before acknowledging with a nod. Understood, ma'am. We are committed to meeting your expectations. The voice on the other end ceased to exist. Rick stored the radio receiver and inhaled deeply. Meanwhile, Waller focused intently, her eyes narrowing as a multitude of thoughts raced through her mind. While reviewing old bills, she recalled the Task X files and began to formulate a preliminary plan for a temporary team to address similar tasks for the government concerning the superhero community, should the need arise. Once it commenced, there was no halting it. In this instance, she exhibited numerous parallels to the former general. The road leading to the city was notably empty, with the exception of 3 vans on the route that clearly indicated an unusual situation. This was the intended course of action, naturally. The most recent transport, which aimed for minimal visibility, did not yield the desired results. In that scenario, ensure that it is conducted discreetly while prioritizing maximum security. This is what Waller stated. She was completely sincere in her statement. In addition to the standard fully armored truck, each member of the Wolf unit was outfitted with advanced laser blasters. In addition to various weapons such as pulse grenades, metahuman dampeners, RPGs, and electrical dischargers, they donned a specialized Kevlar combat suit designed to withstand bullets and resist electric discharges. It was a factual statement to assert that they were fully equipped with weaponry. However, Rick questioned the efficacy of their secure arrangements in comparison to those of the Justice League. The escort caravan proceeded along the vacant streets. Making a left turn now, exiting St. Park Avenue and proceeding onto the highway. A team member tasked with managing communications and navigation stated, "What is the estimated time of arrival at the airport?" Flag inquired, exhibiting a hint of anxiety. The quicker they reached the drop zone, the sooner they could exit the van, which, at this moment, felt akin to a containment cell for him. At that point, he could deliver the package to any agent present at the airport, ensuring that he remained uninvolved in the matter. The issue did not lie with the armored tank itself. The matter was unrelated to the tank. "We are currently 4 miles away. The estimated time of arrival is exactly 3 minutes, assuming there is no traffic." The roadway had been cleared of traffic to ensure a clear route for them. That situation, however, would not endure indefinitely. 5 minutes. They had 5 minutes to reach the airport before operations resumed to their standard procedures. "Please ensure you are prepared, ladies," Rick stated as he activated the laser blaster in his hand. All individuals armed with weapons essentially acted in a similar manner. Years of experience had taught them that the final moments before reaching their destination were critical, as this was often when the storm would erupt. If an adversary were to launch an attack, this would be the optimal moment to proceed. The driver executed a smooth turn out of St. Park and proceeded onto the open highway, which was largely free of traffic. The subsequent vans trailing behind had adhered to the path. Shortly thereafter, the driver observed something in the distance. Due to his eyesight, he struggled to discern the features from his present distance. It appeared to be a humanoid machine, directing a large cannon towards them. "Excuse me, could you please clarify?" "This is unfortunate," the driver expressed with enthusiasm. At the same time, Rick continued to speak. "It is clear to everyone what is at stake in this situation." Bang. The situation deteriorated rapidly when a sonic pulse, expansive enough to encompass several meters, struck the advancing forefront convoy directly. The van, constructed from armored steel, ballistic glass, and synthetic fibers like Kevlar and aramid, exhibited noticeable deformation upon impact with the sonic attack. All individuals within the transport vehicle were taken by surprise and were displaced from their original positions due to the sonic force. The armored vehicles were tightly compressed, as though subjected to unseen forces, before spiraling uncontrollably. The convoy overturned and executed a flip in the air before colliding with the resilient asphalt. Some vehicles are sliding forward, leaving distinct scratch marks on the road surface. This is unsatisfactory. The communications analyst at the secret facility suddenly made an exclamation. His expression shifted significantly as he commenced typing rapidly on the keyboard. "What is the current situation?" Waller turned her head towards him and inquired with a furrowed brow. Observing his reaction, an unsettling premonition arose within her. "There appears to be an issue. Communications are currently unavailable with AV-1. All personnel on AV-1 have lost communication. The drone indicates that the convoy is currently under attack." Waller promptly placed her hand on the intercom. Her voice was urgent as she shouted, "Flag. Please provide an update on the situation over there." Regrettably, she was met with static. "Is there a flag?" "Flag." Amanda expressed her frustration vocally. Regrettably, she was met with a static tone on the other end. "We have lost contact with AV-2, ma'am. AV-3 is currently unresponsive. There appears to be an obstruction in communications. We are unable to proceed." "What is the status of their vital signals?" Waller's eyes appeared to radiate intense fury. Observing the monitoring screen, her tone conveyed a sense of unease and apprehension. "Unruly, madam. It appears they are experiencing an attack. Their vital signs are." The analyst's words halted momentarily as his gaze. "All vital signs have been lost for the soldiers in AV-1. This is incredibly frustrating. That is quite frustrating. The raised voice expressed frustration continuously. Please provide support immediately. Deploy the military to the location, contact the local police department, the FBI, and any available government security agencies in the vicinity. However, ma'am, I have some reservations. Are you inquiring about my statements? No, ma'am. Please follow my instructions. Madam. What is it? Waller expressed his anger vocally. Visual contact with the drone has been lost. Waller hostile engagement detected. Upon witnessing the initial armored van in the convoy come under attack, Rick shouted loudly. AV-1 is currently non-operational, sir. The officer responsible for communications issued a command loudly. I acknowledge that. Could someone please inform me of the whereabouts of these individuals? We have identified their location, sir. On the bridge. Then what are you sitting for? Take aim and discharge your weapon. The armored van at the rear deployed a turret from the roof, with a soldier already positioned in place. The remaining 2 vans followed suit. Regrettably, another party acted with greater speed. A subsequent sonic pulse was launched, targeting the second vehicle in the convoy directly. The outcome mirrored that of the initial incident, as the vehicle contorted and rebounded off the ground, executing a somersault before colliding in the distance. Fragments of broken glass scattered across the roadway. I am quite frustrated. Please remove that item immediately. Rick expressed alarm at what he observed on the monitor. If a heavily armored vehicle were to be compressed in such a manner, the occupants inside would likely face severe consequences due to the immense pressure and potential structural failure of the vehicle. If that object were to impact a human being, there would be nothing remaining but a substance resembling meat paste. Certainly. The soldier positioned on the roof experienced fear comparable to that of his commander. Silently, he targeted the pedestrian bridge, focused on the humanoid machine, and pulled the trigger. An energy beam was directed precisely at the target located on the pedestrian bridge. Impact. The incident resulted in a minor explosion, leading to half of the bridge being engulfed in flames. A multitude of fragmented blocks obstructed the roadway, hindering the intended route of passage. That was insufficient, however. Please proceed with firing once more. Rick felt quite uncomfortable, and instructed both convoys to make another attempt. The soldiers executed their tasks with precision and without hesitation. The pedestrian bridge over the highway was completely destroyed. Hey everyone, let's pull back right now. Rick told everyone to head back the way they came. So, are we just hanging around to find out if their enemies got blown to bits? Why would he hold off on confirming something like that? After all those years on the force, Rick knew better than to be fooled. He quickly decided to turn around without thinking twice. They were just supposed to drop off the package, not get involved with any clear threats. The armored van behind quickly shifted into reverse, eager to back up. The pedestrian bridge, now just a pile of rubble and burning slag, brought with it the loud sounds and hissing of the machinery's hydraulics. Bang! A figure suddenly emerged from beneath the rubble, sending stones flying in all directions. The machine took several steps forward, its footsteps echoing loudly, but interestingly, it left no footprints on the asphalt. Target in sight. The words spoken were really hard to make out. It's like trying to guess the gender of someone who's all wrapped up in mystery. Turn down the power on the sonic cannon. The Android case is going to be super encrypted. We should get the deactivation code from the person in charge. Inside the mechanical suit, a guy with a scruffy beard, brown hair, and an untrimmed mustache listened to the orders coming through his intercom and gave a nod. Sure thing, boss. He lifted the sonic cannon, taking aim at the ones trying to escape. He dialed down the intensity a bit, wanting to make sure no one would end up seriously hurt, and pulled the trigger. The sonic pulse slammed into the back of the vehicle, sending it flipping into the air before it crashed down, rolling over on its sides again and again. Eventually, it ended up on the floor, all wrecked. This one looked like it had been hit by a trailer, while the others seemed to have taken a beating from sledgehammers. For armored vehicles packed with elite soldiers, all taken care of with just a few blasts. Haha, I'm definitely going to ask to keep this. It's all set. The guy said, a wild grin spreading across his face. Alright, let's open the portal. Sure thing. A guy in a robotic suit pressed a button and popped open a secret compartment inside the suit. He brought his hands close, and a piece of machinery popped out from the suit, landing right in his palm. A cube-shaped machine featuring a circular red diagram right in the center. Motherbox got downgraded. He had no idea that was what the cube was. He tapped the red circle that was glowing, and just like that, 2 portals popped open on either side of him. Just a moment later, 2 figures showed up in green mechanical armor that looked a lot like his own. Boss Mannheim. The men called out respectfully. You did a great job. A 62 1.88 meters guy with black hair and black eyes, sporting a pretty gangster-like expression, spoke up. He didn't even look at the person he was talking to. His eyes were totally glued to the wrecked armored vehicles in the distance. Let's get going. We should really lock down the asset before they get any backup. Mannheim mentioned that as he started to move ahead, you could hear the hissing sounds and the occasional were from a ways off. It was all just darkness. His head was throbbing, and a weighty sensation hit him from all sides. I've got a headache, my body aches, and I'm just in pain. There's just a lot of pain. As he opened his mouth, the first sound that came out was a loud, painful groan that he couldn't help but let out. Ouch. It really hurt, like, all over. After years of experience, Rick realized he had a couple of broken bones. Could be a rib or 2, for sure a concussion. And blood, his face felt all sticky, and there was a lot of blood pouring out. It seems like he might have bumped his head and ended up with a pretty big cut from the impact. Hey. Is everyone? Ugh, doing okay? The light inside the car was kind of dim and flickering. Not really lighting up the area much. Rick wasn't able to see clearly either. Every now and then, his head would buzz, and everything around him looked all fuzzy and out of focus. If he managed to calm down and take a good look in the mirror, he probably wouldn't be too shocked to see blood coming from his nose, mouth, and ears. Oh man. Rick caught a painful groan nearby. Hey there. Commander Sanchez. You're all right. Rick said, trying to push himself up with some effort. I'm not really sure. Ugh. Nah. That's definitely not cool. A guy's voice came back to him. I think I might have broken my arm. And my organs feel a bit shaken up. Sanchez was just a kid. Just a little over 25. He joined the army and graduated at the top of his class. After being in a few battles, I got recruited to join Rick's squadron. I found myself in a forbidden love with an enemy agent while on a mission 2 years back, and we shared a passionate night together. Keep your head up, soldier. We're going to make it through this. Sure thing, Commander. He coughed up a bit of blood while he was talking. It doesn't really matter, I've always been ready for whatever comes my way. Come on, don't say that, buddy. Bang. A mechanical hand reached through the tougher-than-steel walls and pulled. After that, the back door was yanked right off the van and tossed to the other side. Those guys. Flag quickly pulled out his modified military-grade blaster and started shooting. The lasers hit Mannheim's special armor, but it didn't take any damage at all. Not a single scratch, not even a tiny one. Tickles. Bruno said with a teasing grin. As he opened his hands, whips that looked like metal stretched out from the palms of the suit. Ha. Mannheim made a smooth swinging motion, and the whip flew out, effortlessly slicing the gun in Flag's hand right in half. He swung again, and the whip wrapped around Rick's neck, yanking him out of the vehicle and lifting him off the ground. The evening moon lit up the scene with Rick Flag struggling against a metal whip wrapping around him. Hey there, Colonel Flag. What a lovely evening. Mannheim said with a smirk before glancing to the side. Hey, guys. Make sure to secure the package. 2 guys in power armor strolled into the armored van. I honestly thought that Blast would have you out cold, and I'd be the one trying to wake you up. Who would have guessed you'd still be awake? Mannheim. Rick shouted out, his teeth clenched tight. Wow. You know who I am. Most people involved are aware of you. Criminal filth. Sounds great. It really takes the hassle out of introducing myself. While he was talking, Mannheim's lackey stepped out of the van carrying 5 different cases. Rick's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw this. "Hey Colonel, could you do me a solid and share the codes for the cases? It would really save me a lot of hassle." "Why don't you just take a hike, you jerk?" Rick said with a fierce look before spitting on Mannheim. The snot-filled spit hit the clear part of the suit's helmet. Mannheim's expression twisted for a moment before settling back to normal. "All right, let's give this another shot." The metal whip around his throat suddenly pulled tighter, almost like it had a mind of its own. Rick choked and gagged for a few seconds, almost suffocating, until the rope around his neck finally loosened. "Ha. Ha. Feel free to continue. I'm really feeling overwhelmed right now. I'm not sharing anything with you." "Are you really sure about that?" Mannheim asked, a nasty grin spreading across his face. "People like you really should have been gone ages ago. I might kick the bucket today, but hey, it brings me a little joy thinking that eventually, you'll join me down in hell." "Wow. Hey, just so you know, someone might be joining you down there, but it definitely won't be me," he said, smiling. He looked away for a moment and nodded. "All right, guys, let's show our colonel what the battlefield is really like once more." "Absolutely, boss." One shot back with a mischievous grin before heading back into the van to grab an unconscious body. "Hey, what are you up to?" "Oh, just sending your teammates off on a little vacation," he said, gripping the throat with the mechanical hand and twisting to the side. Whoa. That was a loud crack. "Oh no." A cry of pain and sorrow echoed through the night in Los Angeles. "You mean a permanent one, right? I'm really upset with you right now." Rick let out a howl like a hurt wolf, kicking wildly with his fiery red eyes. "The colonel tends to be pretty loud. The cops are gonna be here any minute, so let's hurry it up, guys." Mannheim grinned in a way that sent chills down your spine, and his crew followed suit. "Absolutely." The henchman leaned in, reaching out his hand to target another unconscious figure. Oh no. A laser beam shot out from his palm, going straight into the target's brain. Nope. Here we go again. Oh no. Blood was splattered all over the place. The sight of flesh and blood, with bits of meat flying everywhere, could definitely turn someone's stomach. "How about we take out one more to see if that helps the colonel decide?" Hee hee. The henchman rushed forward, getting ready to shoot again. Pooey. 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 Back off. Right now, Sanchez, who had gotten his mobility back, picked up a laser blaster and shot at the henchman. 2 beams struck the henchman's chest armor, but they didn't do anything. The last beam, however, hit right in the palm area. Bang. Ugh. He let out a cry of pain when the laser struck, causing the beam he was ready to fire to bounce back and explode the henchman's arm. Sanchez's expression shifted dramatically when he saw this. "You little rascal." Mannheim, witnessing the scene, let out a furious roar. Henchman number 2 swung his mechanical arm, and with a swift motion, a whip shot out, knocking the weapon from Sanchez's grip. In a flash, it recoiled and clamped down around his neck. The metal whip pulled back, dragging the soldier right along with it. "All right, looks like you're next on the list. But I'll just let this one fade away," Mannheim said with a sharp edge. "Just let him go, you monster." Flag was having a tough time, feeling pretty anxious. "No worries, Commander," Sanchez said, struggling to catch his breath. "I told you. Ugh. I'm not scared." His eyes looked like they were shining with determination. "Just help me find my family. Let them know I love them. Not right now, soldier. Not this evening. I told you that you'd get to see your girls again." Sanchez smiled, feeling tears start to gather in his eyes as he listened to his words. Flag was feeling pretty down. Sanchez had been by his side for the past few years, and he had a family to think about. He really didn't want to go on this trip, but Rick kept insisting, claiming it would be the last job they'd ever have to take on. "All personnel, please retreat immediately." Rick issued the directive to retrace their steps. Regarding the anticipation of whether their adversaries had been eliminated. What could be the reason for his delay in confirming such a matter? After many years of service, Rick was no fool. He promptly decided to retrace his steps without any hesitation. Their responsibility was to ensure the package was delivered, not to interact with confirmed hostiles. The armored van behind promptly engaged in reverse, aiming to maneuver backwards. The pedestrian bridge, now reduced to rubble and burning slag, was accompanied by the loud sounds and hissing noises of hydraulic machinery. Bang! A figure emerged from beneath the rubble, sending stones scattering in all directions. The machine advanced with notable sound, yet it left no trace on the asphalt surface. Target in sight. The spoken words were significantly distorted, rendering it impossible to ascertain the gender of the individual inside. Decrease the power of the sonic cannon. The Android case will feature robust encryption measures. We must acquire the deactivation code from the individual in charge. Within the mechanical suit, a man with a scruffy beard, brown hair, and an untrimmed mustache acknowledged the orders relayed to him through his intercom with a nod. "As you wish, sir." He then elevated the sonic cannon and targeted the fleeing individuals, slightly reducing the intensity to ensure that those present would not suffer severe injuries, and discharged the weapon. Can. The sonic pulse exerted a significant force upon striking the rear of the vehicle, resulting in its somersaulting into the air before descending to the ground and rolling over on its sides repeatedly. Ultimately, it came to rest on the floor, damaged. This one appeared to have sustained damage akin to being struck by a trailer, whereas the others seemed to have been impacted by sledgehammers. For armored vehicles, containing numerous elite soldiers, were all neutralized with a few blasts. I will certainly request to retain this. The task has been completed. The man spoke with an exuberant smile on his face. Please proceed to open the portal. I will proceed with that. A man in a robotic suit activated a button, revealing a concealed compartment within the suit. A piece of machinery extended from the suit and settled into his palm as he positioned his hands nearby. A cube-shaped device featuring a circular red diagram at its center. Motherbox has been downgraded. That was the nature of the cube, though he was unaware of it. Upon activating the red circle emitting a crimson glow, two portals promptly materialized on either side. Moments later, two individuals emerged in green mechanical armor akin to his own. Boss Mannheim. The individual addressed others with a tone of respect. You have performed admirably. The 1.88 meters male with black hair and black eyes, displaying a somewhat assertive expression, spoke. He did not take the time to look at the individual he was conversing with, his attention entirely focused on the damaged armored vehicles in the distance. Let us proceed. It is imperative that we secure the asset prior to their receipt of reinforcements. Mannheim stated that, as he commenced to advance, the hissing sounds and intermittent whirring were audible from afar. The surroundings were completely devoid of light. He experienced a severe headache, accompanied by an overwhelming sensation that impacted his senses in multiple ways. Experiencing headache, body ache, and discomfort. There is significant discomfort. As he opened his mouth, the initial sound that emerged was a loud, painful, and involuntary groan. It was an intense sensation of pain, affecting every part of my body. With several years of experience, Rick was aware that he had sustained a few broken bones. Possibly a rib fracture or two, and certainly a concussion. The side of his face felt sticky, and a significant amount of blood was flowing out. It is likely that he sustained a head injury and incurred a significant laceration as a result of the impact. Is everyone all right? The illumination inside the vehicle was subdued and intermittent, providing minimal illumination to the surrounding area. Rick was also unable to see clearly. He experienced intermittent buzzing in his head, accompanied by blurred and disoriented vision. If he were to gather himself and examine his reflection, he would likely find blood streaming from his nose, mouth, and ears. I am quite frustrated. Rick perceived a distressing groan nearby. Hello, Commander? Sanchez, it is good to see that you are well. Rick remarked as he exerted effort to lift himself up. I am uncertain. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Clearly unacceptable. A male voice responded to him. I believe my arm may be fractured. My organs feel quite unsettled. Sanchez was in his youth. Just 25. Enlisted in the army and achieved the highest honors in his class. Following participation in several battles, I was recruited to join Rick's squadron. Engaged in a complex relationship with an adversarial agent during a mission 2 years prior, which culminated in an intense evening. Remain resilient, soldier. We will successfully navigate this situation. Indeed, Commander. He expelled a small amount of blood as he articulated his words. It is of no consequence. I have consistently been ready to face the ultimate outcome. Please refrain from saying that, son. Bang. A mechanical hand penetrated the tougher-than-steel walls and exerted a pulling force. Subsequently, the back door was forcibly removed from the van and discarded to the opposite side. Die, individuals. Flag swiftly deployed his modified military-grade blaster and commenced firing. The lasers struck the surface of the specialized armor worn by Mannheim, resulting in no damage. There is not even a single scratch. Tickles. Bruno remarked with a condescending smile. As he opened his hands, metallic whips extended from the palm of the suit. Indeed. Mannheim executed a swinging motion, and the whip extended outward, precisely severing the gun in Flag's hand in two. He swung once more, and the whip ensnared Rick's neck, extracting him from the vehicle and lifting him into the air. The evening moon illuminated the scene of Rick Flag being ensnared by a metal whip. Greetings, Colonel Flag. An enjoyable evening. Mannheim stated confidently before shifting his gaze to the side. Gentlemen. Please ensure the package is secured. 2 individuals clad in power armor entered the armored van. I anticipated that the blast would have rendered you unconscious, necessitating my efforts to rouse you. It is surprising to see that you remain aware. Mannheim. Rick spoke through clenched teeth. Oh. You acknowledge my presence. Almost everyone involved is aware of your presence. Criminal misconduct. That is satisfactory. Eliminates the need for self-introduction. As he spoke, Mannheim's associates emerged from the van carrying 5 distinct cases. Upon witnessing this, Rick's eyes widened in astonishment. Colonel, I would appreciate it if you could provide me with the codes for the cases to streamline the process. I strongly disapprove of your actions. Rick stated with a fierce demeanor before directing a spit towards Mannheim. The mucus-laden saliva made contact with the transparent section of the suit's helmet. Mannheim's expression briefly became unappealing before reverting to its usual demeanor. Let us proceed with this once more. The metallic constriction around his throat abruptly tightened by several notches. Rick experienced a moment of distress, struggling for breath, before the constricting rope around his neck finally loosened. Ha! Ha! Please proceed. I am feeling overwhelmed. I will not be providing any information. Are you certain about that? Mannheim inquired with a disconcerting smile. Individuals like you should have faced consequences long ago. I may face my end today, yet there is a certain satisfaction in knowing that eventually, you will join me in the afterlife. Oh! It appears that you will have company in your unfortunate circumstances, though I will not be among them. He stated with a smile. He then redirected his gaze and acknowledged with a nod. Proceed, gentlemen, and allow our colonel to once more encounter the harsh realities of the battlefield. Certainly, sir. One responded with a sly smile before returning to the van to retrieve an unconscious individual. Excuse me, may I inquire about your current activity? I am simply arranging a vacation for your teammates. He stated as he secured the throat with the mechanical hand and turned to the side. Break. Absolutely not. A cry of anguish and sorrow echoed through the night in Los Angeles. A permanent solution, indeed. I will take decisive action against you. Rick emitted a fierce sound, exhibiting a sense of urgency as he kicked with intense determination and focused intensity. The colonel tends to be quite vocal. The authorities will arrive shortly. Let's expedite this process, gentlemen. Mannheim displayed a sinister smile, mirrored by his crew. It would be my pleasure. The henchman extended his hand, directing it towards another unconscious figure. Explosion. A laser beam was emitted from the palm of his hand, effectively penetrating the target's brain. Negative. Another item. Explosion. Blood was splattered throughout the area. The sight of flesh and blood, along with the scattered pieces of meat, was sufficient to induce nausea. Let us proceed with one more to assist the colonel in reaching a decision. He. The henchman advanced, readying themselves to discharge another round. Poultry. 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 Please maintain your distance. Currently, Sanchez, having regained mobility, seized a laser blaster and discharged it at the henchman. 2 beams struck the henchman's chest armor, resulting in no effect, while the final beam impacted the palm area. Bang. I am quite frustrated. He cried out in agony as the laser struck, resulting in the beam he was preparing to fire ricocheting and detonating the henchman's arm. Sanchez's expression shifted significantly upon witnessing this. You are quite bothersome. Mannheim, observing this situation, expressed his anger with a powerful roar. Henchman number 2 swung his mechanical arm, deploying a whip that struck Sanchez's weapon, disarming him before retracting and seizing him by the neck. The metal whip retracted, drawing the soldier in its wake. Very well, you may be the next to face the consequences. However, I will allow this matter to fade gradually. Mannheim stated with intensity. Please release him, you fiend. Flag exhibited signs of struggle and anxiety. Understood, Commander. Sanchez stated while experiencing strangulation. I have communicated that I am not afraid. His eyes appeared to shine with resolve. Kindly locate my family. Please convey my love to them. Not at this moment, soldier. Regrettably, I am unavailable this evening. I assured you that you would return to see your daughters. Upon hearing his words, Sanchez smiled as tears began to gather in his eyes. Flag experienced a sense of despair. Observing Sanchez, who had been by his side for several years and had a family to consider, he felt a reluctance about this trip. However, Rick persuaded him, asserting that this would be the final task they would ever undertake. Very well. He exclaimed. Could you please repeat that, Colonel? Mannheim displayed an even broader smile. I will provide you with the codes, please release him. He expressed himself loudly. Please set the child down. The henchman acknowledged with a nod and let Sanchez go, who collapsed to the ground, inhaling deeply and urgently. Are you doing well? Rick inquired with concern. I have a constrained schedule, Colonel Flag, so let's proceed efficiently. Please provide the codes at your earliest convenience. Otherwise, I will take action against each remaining member of your team. The chill in his gaze unequivocally confirmed the seriousness of the threat. Flag hesitated briefly before making a decision. The initial number is 58429699910. The henchman entered the numbers, resulting in the illumination of the green light. Proceed. Mannheim remarked with a slight smile. Flag regarded him with disdain. If appearances were lethal, Mannheim would likely be beyond revival, even with divine intervention. Nevertheless, his logical reasoning compelled him to proceed. A clicking sound was audible as the cases were opened. Mannheim examined them closely to assess his target. Each case contained a robotic component. 2 individuals secured the legs, 2 managed the arms, and 1 was responsible for the head and body. Amazo. The potential for being the most perilous weapon globally. Excellent. Mannheim acknowledged with a nod. Assemble all components and position a teleporter on them. Henchman number 2 acknowledged with a nod, observing number 1, who was experiencing significant blood loss and trembling. Mannheim made no reference to his injury, and henchman number 1 refrained from expressing his thoughts. He could only observe as his complexion became increasingly ashen from the significant blood loss, wishing for a swift conclusion to the situation so he could receive medical attention. You possess what you desire. Observing the second individual place a box on the assembled case, Rick, still restrained by the grip around his neck and with his legs suspended in the air, spoke in a cold tone. Please allow my team to proceed. Do you believe I would go back on my promise? Mannheim expressed a light-hearted laugh. You are expressing excessive concern. Your personnel will survive. You, however. Mannheim displayed a sinister smile. I never indicated that I would allow you to continue living, did I? The expression on Flag's face shifted. Farewell, Colonel Flag. The metal whip abruptly constricted, poised to eliminate him in a single strike. Nonetheless, 2 beams of intensely heated lasers materialized unexpectedly, severing the metal whip with precision. What on earth? Mannheim expressed his surprise as Flag collapsed to the ground. His eyes moved swiftly from side to side, searching for the assailant. Negative. Not ideal. A voice emerged from behind Mannheim as he sensed a tap on the back of his armor. He turned around and extended his hand, intending to discharge a laser beam. He made an effort. The mechanical palm, illuminated in green, had 2 fingers inserted into it prior to its release, thereby rendering it inoperative. Myself. Mannheim experienced a forceful twist of his arm, resulting in a cry of pain, before he was elevated off the ground and forcefully brought down at a swift pace. Impact. The ground fractured as a result of the impact. Superman. He spoke through clenched teeth. The figure elevated his head slightly, hovering effortlessly, with his feet remaining 3 inches above the ground. Blue tights, red cape, and the iconic S symbol. Mannheim muttered quietly to himself. The individual he least desired to encounter this evening. Indeed, Mannheim. Did you miss me? He inquired casually, yet his expression remained serious, devoid of any hint of a smile. Please remove it from this location. Mannheim addressed henchman number 2 with urgency, prompting him to turn towards the cases and prepare to transport them using the box he was holding. A swift red and blue motion darted past his vision, and he promptly realized that his hands were devoid of any objects. Not this evening, gentlemen. Superman accelerated rapidly, maneuvering around henchman number 2 and generating a minor whirlwind. The individual was elevated off the ground before being forcefully brought back down with a punch. Clark lifted his gaze to observe Bruno Mannheim as he gradually rose from the uneven terrain. There is no necessity to contemplate departing. There is a singular destination you will be heading towards. It includes 3 meals daily, with lights out scheduled for 8 o'clock. What brings you here? You have not been present for a month. Furthermore, this area does not belong to you. I have just returned to duty. Clark crossed his arms in the air. Traveling globally to address various challenges, I happened to be in the vicinity and overheard something noteworthy. It is fortunate that it did, otherwise you might have evaded accountability. Clark expressed his discontent with a frown. Despite his awareness of the government's opposition, he did not anticipate the situation escalating to this extent. The transportation of the android, a matter of significant importance, was executed without any prior notification to the League. What if his proximity was not merely coincidental? Amazo would be operating with a lack of restraint once more. What was Lane doing? It appears that fortune has not favored me this time. That is a valid perspective. Clark stated in a casual manner. His gaze shifted to henchman number 1, who was losing blood, and his frown deepened. He is experiencing significant blood loss. What is your inquiry? What is your concern? Would you simply stand by and watch your partner perish? Clark inquired with a low tone. Oh. Mannheim experienced a brief moment of astonishment before. I find that quite amusing. He chuckled heartily. An individual once mentioned that a person could attempt to harm you, fail, and nearly endanger their own life, yet you would still ensure they receive medical attention if necessary. Amusing. It appears he was correct. Mannheim expressed disdain. Clark displayed a look of discontent. I believe we have reached a limit in our interactions. Clark made a statement and subsequently delivered a punch. Mannheim was propelled into the distance. That should put an end to his comments. Clark remarked, brushing off his hands. He directed his attention to one of the 2 individuals still aware at the scene. Superman. Rick observed the individual clad in red and blue tights, paused for a moment, and then spoke. Thank you. Clark elevated an eyebrow. Please do not be concerned, but this is not the appropriate moment. I will discuss this matter with your superiors at a later time. At this time, I am taking custody of the android and the prisoners. Upon hearing his words, Rick displayed a frown and promptly declined. I regret to inform you, Superman, that I cannot permit you to proceed with that. Are you aware that you were nearly in a life-threatening situation? Clark inquired in an unusual manner. I have concerns regarding your ability to safeguard the android components should you encounter another attack. We anticipate the arrival of reinforcements. Rick stated without expression. Clark chose not to speak. Flag was correct, he could discern the sounds of numerous forces assembling in this direction. Acceptable. Clark remarked with a subtle frown before directing the teleportation box towards Rick. The individual grasped it securely with both hands and maintained silence. "Commander." Rick pivoted in response to the sound of someone addressing him. "Sanchez." Rick approached the 25-year-old who was positioned against the cases of Amazo's parts. "Did you receive the report I sent last week? Is it concluded?" "Indeed. Appreciation is extended to Superman. In the absence of this box, they will be unable to transport the package to any location." Rick held the box in his hands, a subtle smile appearing on his face. Sanchez remained quiet. "What seems to be the issue, young one?" Rick inquired with concern. "It is of no significance. Some minor injuries," he remarked with a subtle wince. "It is acceptable, my son." Flag displayed a smile. "Once reinforcements arrive, we will ensure you receive the necessary care." "Thank you, Commander. You abandoned the mission to ensure our survival," he stated, directing his attention to the deceased individuals inside the van. The Flag became silent. The loss of several colleagues profoundly affected him. "This significantly impacts my feelings in a negative way." As Flag continued to process the tragedy that had occurred tonight, the subsequent statement left him in a state of shock. "What are you?" Flag inquired in confusion, but he was taken aback when Sanchez abruptly swung his fist, striking him precisely on his jawline. Impact. Rick was unexpectedly taken by surprise and collapsed to the floor. The box he was holding also slipped from his grip. Superman, observing from a distance, was taken aback by the unexpected developments. Sanchez promptly retrieved the box that had fallen and pressed the red area. "No!" Clark exclaimed and swiftly advanced, exceeding the speed of sound in an instant. Regrettably, he arrived just a moment too late. The cases containing Amazo's components illuminated with an orange glow before vanishing. "What actions have you taken?" Clark exclaimed. Nevertheless, a yellow flash drew Superman's focus. Clark turned around, surprised to discover that Bruno Mannheim, seizing the opportunity of his brief distraction, had produced a teleporter box akin to the one Sanchez possessed and activated it. Once more, the Men of Steel advanced, yet again he found himself a step behind. "Until next time, Blue." The voice resonated in Clark's ears as Bruno Mannheim vanished from sight. Only Superman remained, displaying a rather unappealing expression. "Why?" A powerful roar resonated along the highway. The distracted Superman turned his head to observe Flag delivering a punch with a fierce expression. Sanchez received a direct hit to the face and collapsed to the ground. Blood erupted from his mouth as his hand struck the unforgiving asphalt with force. Sanchez was initially in suboptimal condition, experiencing significant dizziness. Unfortunately, Rick was not going to receive that information. Rick ascended onto the fallen soldier and commenced delivering a series of vigorous punches. "You have betrayed my trust." Impact. "That is quite frustrating." Impact. "Are you currently employed with Mannheim?" Impact. "That individual caused the loss of several members of our team." Impact. "Why?" "That is sufficient." Clark furrowed his brow and swiftly advanced to intercept the incoming fist. Flag found himself unable to escape the firm hold, yet he remained indifferent to the situation. Flag experienced a profound sense of disintegration in his world. He struggled with great intensity. "Please allow me to leave. I intend to eliminate him. If you continue with that approach, I assure you, the outcome will be as anticipated." Sanchez's face at this juncture was in disarray. Blood flowed from his nose, mouth, and tears streamed down his face. "Why? Why?" Rick expressed his frustration vocally. "We maintained a friendship. Siblings. We shared meals, enjoyed beverages, and faced challenges together. What prompted you to act against us?" Flag observed him closely, his expression indicating a desire to catch even the most subtle shifts in Sanchez's facial features. The frustration he felt at that moment was beyond words. Sanchez expectorated blood. He attempted to articulate a response, but he is not in a suitable state for interrogation. In order to obtain answers from him, it is essential to avoid using extreme measures beforehand. Clark issued a warning. As he directed his attention towards the battered Sanchez, a multitude of thoughts traversed his mind. There may be an underlying narrative to this. Something that is not immediately apparent. He reflected inwardly. Clark observed the eyes reflecting guilt and self-blame earlier. He absorbed the blows without attempting to retaliate. For an individual like Superman, who has been conditioned to recognize the positive attributes in everyone, it is entirely expected for the Men of Steel to hold such perspectives. This perspective of optimism, coupled with a firm conviction that inherent goodness exists within everyone, can be viewed as somewhat simplistic. Even Clark was aware of this fact. While he promoted his viewpoint, he did not implement this principle in certain specific instances. Individuals who embodied monstrosity in its most authentic form. For instance, the Joker. Regardless of his feelings, Clark was convinced that the individual in question lacked any semblance of goodness in his character. Furthermore, it is unreasonable to anticipate that individuals will forgive a character solely based on the cessation of negative behavior. Clark was confident that if the Joker were to regain his sanity and cease using that as a justification to evade the law, he would ultimately confront execution by the government. Even if the Joker were genuinely reformed, Clark would not take any action to attempt to save him. Nonetheless, Clark's naive optimism did possess some merits at times. Laura Sanchez was able to articulate a word despite experiencing significant pain. "Who is it?" Clark inquired. Multiple teeth were expelled from his mouth, accompanied by a significant amount of blood. "Laura, he has." "Laura," Sanchez stated in a subdued manner before losing consciousness. Rick's pupils contracted, and his body tensed momentarily. "Could you please provide information about Laura?" Superman inquired with a hint of perplexity. "That she is his daughter," Flag responded while in a state of confusion. The auditory presence of rotating blades, police sirens, and helicopter rotors. 2 searchlights illuminated the figures of Superman and Rick Flag. "Please halt your movement." The amplified voice resonated through the megaphone. "Here is your inside story." As the helicopters, fighter jets, police cars, and FBI vans drew near, Superman exhaled deeply. Mannheim has successfully evaded capture, while the android has been apprehended. This evening is expected to be extended. "Certainly, I will have the sausage and peas, French fries, apple pie, a cappuccino, chili labna eggs, and pancakes." Kara turned her attention as the waitress spoke. A female with fair skin, dark hair, and green eyes appeared, dressed in a blue uniform complemented by a small apron tied around her waist. "Thank you," she responded with a degree of distraction, extending her hands outward but halting in midair. "I would like to clarify that I have not placed an order yet." Kara spoke after a moment of realization. "Indeed," the waitress responded with a subtle smile. "This order does not belong to you, it is intended for the gentleman." "Oh." The young Kryptonian turned her head sharply back to the young man, clearly surprised. "Have you placed your order already? Why did I fail to notice? Given the level of attention you dedicate to that tablet, even with your senses, I would be surprised if you did," Naruto stated matter-of-factly. He directed his attention towards the waitress. "Thank you, you may place it down now." "Anna, I assume." The attentive waitress raised an eyebrow before her gaze settled on her modest chest, where a name tag was positioned on the right side. "Understood. The name badge indicates that information. Here you are." She advanced, intending to place the food down, but miscalculated her step in the process. She lost her hold on the plate she was carrying, causing the cappuccino in her hand to fall. Time appeared to stretch indefinitely as the waitress' movements came to a halt. The falling plate of food, the spilled cappuccino with its contents suspended in the air, and nearly everything else were all affected. In the CAF, time appeared to decelerate significantly. Observing the food descending towards him, which would inevitably create a mess if left unattended, Naruto rose from his seat with a neutral expression and took decisive action. Retrieving the food order and setting it on the table, followed by collecting the spilled liquid and returning it to its container. The entire process was completed in under a second as he arranged everything on the table, observed by the attentive young Kryptonian, before returning to his chair in the same position he had left it. The pace of time has returned to normal. The waitress, initially displaying a panicked expression, quickly regained her composure as she attempted to retrieve what had slipped from her grasp, only to become momentarily still a moment later. Naruto occupied his chair, his face neutral, features devoid of any expression. He grasped the cappuccino with his right hand and raised it to his lips, savoring a sip. The waitress expressed disbelief. Everything appeared to be quite standard. "Could you please clarify what just occurred?" she inquired with a tone of astonishment and incredulity. "Are you inquiring about what is expected to occur?" Naruto set aside the drink and responded with a rhetorical remark. "We convened." He responded with a slight shrug of his shoulders. "Are you doing well?" "I." The waitress slightly shook her head. "I believe I may have been dedicating excessive effort to my work lately. It would be advisable to take a break at this time. Unless your supervisor is the type that does not grant days off." Upon hearing his words, Anna paused briefly in surprise before letting out a chuckle. He was correct, her supervisor exhibited those characteristics. Older, irritable, and similar characteristics. "It seems you have a way with words, Chad. I appreciate the compliment, although that is not my name. It appears you are not a local, are you?" she inquired with a smile. "What indicated it?" "Your expression, along with the uniqueness of your order, is quite intriguing in this region." She indicated his plate, then focused her attention on his face. His expression conveyed much more than mere words could express. She was confident that she would recall encountering a face like this in her surroundings. Indeed. He is attractive. She reflected internally. Naruto responded with a casual shrug. "Is there nothing?" She advanced a few steps, moving closer. "I hope you don't consider yourself one of those overly aggressive individuals." "Do I appear to be one?" His voice lacked inflection, his eyes showed no emotion, and his body remained still. All indications clearly suggested that he had no interest in whatever she was offering. Observing this, she gently bit her lip, creating an alluring gesture. It was not a deliberate action, and she was unaware that it had occurred. Strong and assertive individual. Based on the well-defined muscles visible through his t-shirt, she was confident that he had an impressive physique beneath that garment. Athletic physique complemented by a handsome face, exceeding the appearances she had encountered on television. The eyes are particularly noteworthy. The striking blue eyes possess a captivating allure. Could this individual be a newly emerging celebrity that she was not yet aware of? "I am uncertain. Perhaps I would discover more by getting to know you better," she remarked, her tone becoming playful. "Hazel. What are you doing at table 7? If I remember correctly, your shift has not concluded yet." At that moment, the atmosphere she believed she had cultivated was abruptly disrupted by the loud shouting of a middle-aged man. Her face rapidly flushed with a deep red as she experienced a moment of mild embarrassment. "I am currently occupied." As she stated this, she positioned her palm on the table and moved something closer to Naruto. "I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss this further at your convenience." With a subtle wink, she turned and proceeded back to the counter. Naruto observed her departure with a sense of indifference. "You are already aware of the details." As he glanced at the piece of paper near his palm, his eyes briefly registered the number before he lifted his gaze to meet the downcast eyes of an individual who had been largely overlooked in the preceding 30 seconds. "Impressive, isn't it?" Kara remarked with a hint of irony. Naruto regarded her with an impassive expression before lowering his gaze to his dinner. "I am currently having a meal," he remarked casually as he picked up the knife and fork. "Do you believe I was unaware?" Kara posed a rhetorical question. She was clearly showing interest in you. She also provided her contact number. Iconic cinematic moment. "Do I appear to be flirting?" That perspective appears quite self-centered. "If I remember correctly, the notion of flirting is absent on your planet." He spoke without lifting his gaze. "Alice has been allowing you to view an excessive number of romantic comedies, hasn't she?" "That." The woman with blonde hair tucked it behind her ears and cleared her throat. "That is intended for research," she remarked, as though she had just gained a new understanding. "Indeed, research." With a composed demeanor, she tapped the table and proceeded with her remarks. "I do not intend to remain in the axiom indefinitely. Given the destruction of Krypton and my current presence on Earth, I will inevitably encounter the inhabitants of this planet in the near future. The objective is to achieve a more seamless integration. She expressed herself with remarkable enthusiasm. The twinge of sadness was evident when she referenced Krypton's destruction. Naruto's perspective indeed. I trust you gathered substantial research material from viewing 50 Shades of Grey. I inquired with a subtle nod and a gaze filled with amusement, aware that an unusual spectacle was about to unfold. Indeed, the Kryptonian's face abruptly flushed a deep shade of red. Her fair cheeks adopted a red hue that could easily lead one to believe she had just experienced sunburn. However, the exterior was shrouded in darkness. Shall we proceed with moonburn then? Please refrain from discussing that. Furthermore, there is no familial connection between us. You are not in a position to dictate my actions. Observing the girl, her face flushed with embarrassment as she mustered the courage to speak, I found myself contemplating what Clark's reaction would be if he were aware that his cherished cousin, whom he has yet to meet, had faced such a situation. The idea was certainly intriguing, to put it mildly. Oh. What is the reason for this? Moments ago, you appeared enthusiastic about exploring the concept of Earth relationships. The cerebral transducer was utilized, and I am confident that some of the information presented included the notion of the carnal desires pursued by humans. Something that ought to be unfamiliar to your race. That is sufficient. Kara expressed her embarrassment by striking her hands on the table. Regrettably, she lacked experience in managing her sudden surge in physical strength. The diner table was split in two as the gentle palm struck its surface. Similar to a heavy-duty tool. Bang. The loud noise was especially noticeable in the serene restaurant. Fortunately, the evening rush had concluded, leaving only the staff and a few remaining customers. They all stood in stunned silence, their mouths agape as they observed the scene before them. Kara paused momentarily, her thoughts momentarily eluding her before a look of concern settled on her features. I observed the damaged table with a subtle expression of concern. That concludes my dinner. I spoke quietly, completely unconcerned about this scene being observed by the general public. My order was damaged alongside the table. I turned my head to observe the serene restaurant and spoke in a composed manner. I regret any inconvenience caused by the table. My acquaintance possesses greater strength than her appearance suggests. I rose as my speech came to an end. With a snap of my fingers, the damaged furniture was returned to its previous state in under 10 seconds. Additionally, it appeared to be in pristine condition. Everything is now in excellent condition. Please prepare to depart, Kara. With that, I proceeded towards the exit, maintaining a measured pace. Kara initially expressed surprise before promptly following behind me. The sound of the door being pushed open and then closing was the only thing the patrons in the diner could perceive. After some time, an individual inquired. Could you please clarify what that was? I believe they were exceptional individuals. Indeed. That is quite impressive. Do you believe they were heroes or villains? How can I determine that? They were not dressed in costume or anything. Did you observe how that individual forcefully struck the table with a slap? What are her bones composed of? Excuse me. I did not observe clearly. What are you referring to? The young woman. She just, struck the table. I suppose. What is the next step? What is particularly noteworthy about that? It appears that there may have been an issue with it. Are you certain? The table appears satisfactory from this vantage point. Indeed. I am unable to recall the events that transpired. I believe it is just out of reach. What is currently on your mind? Regarding an incident that occurred here. Oh. What was that? I am uncertain. He responded with a nonchalant gesture, accompanied by a thoughtful scratch of his head. He experienced a subtle, tingling sensation. The sensation he often experienced, indicating that he had overlooked something. No. I do not recall any events occurring. It is likely that you are confusing it with the robbery incident that occurred downtown. Indeed, you may have a valid point. Eventually, that sensation diminished, resulting in the individual engaging in conversation with his new associate regarding unrelated matters. An unusual event occurred this evening, yet only 2 individuals were meant to retain the memory of it. The city lights illuminated the surroundings, the lamplights radiated brightness, and the sounds of passing vehicles were scarce as pedestrians traversed the sidewalks. "The night is truly beautiful," the woman with blonde hair remarked, her eyes shining brightly as she gazed upward. The multitude of stars illuminating the night sky surpassed the brilliance of the city lights, evoking a profound emotion within Kara. "You make a valid point," Naruto replied in a straightforward manner. Hello, could we discuss the events that occurred at the diner?" "Indeed. What is the status of it?" he responded with an inquiry while maintaining his pace. Kara, who accompanied him, displayed a slight frown. "Are you not feeling apprehensive?" "Are you feeling apprehensive?" Naruto expressed his exasperation with a roll of his eyes. "Please consider this matter with the utmost seriousness. In this universe and beyond, I am not afraid of anything." Kara observed his blank expression, uncertain if he was being serious or speaking in a casual manner. Based on her recent experiences with him, it appeared that he was not joking. Occasionally, he employed sarcastic and rhetorical remarks, albeit infrequently, and they were easily recognizable. This was distinct. "I apologize for not expressing that correctly. What I intended to convey is, aren't you apprehensive that they might discuss what they have observed or something similar? Alternatively, you may observe the surveillance cameras." "Excuse me. If there were any, that is." "No." His response was succinct. "Is that correct?" "No." He responded once more. "It is difficult for them to discuss matters they do not recall observing, is it not?" The young Kryptonian was somewhat taken aback by his words. "You modified their memories? That is a valid perspective. At this stage, it would be best if they no longer recalled our presence from the outset. The same applies to cameras." He responded positively. Kara remained quiet, somewhat surprised by the idea. "There is no need for surprise. My ability to perform such tasks is contingent upon my skills. Your cousin is capable of achieving similar results with a set of glasses that challenge conventional understanding," Naruto remarked casually. Kara remained silent as the two continued to enjoy their evening walk. After a significant duration, they arrived at a fountain. Kara observed the rippling reflections of Naruto and herself in the water, letting out a quiet sigh within. Naruto remained silent, preserving the tranquility of the surroundings for several minutes. Eventually, the deviant spoke. "It appears that this is the point at which we conclude our collaboration," he remarked, redirecting his attention from the water to a pair of eyes that were observing him with a touch of apprehension. "Were you aware? Are you planning to request to leave at this moment?" "Affirmative. I anticipated your request to leave the Axiom," he stated matter-of-factly. His facial expressions and body language revealed no emotion. "If you wish to reconnect with your cousin, feel free to proceed. You are welcome to depart at your convenience." Upon hearing his words, the slight uneasiness finally dissipated. A sense of disappointment emerged briefly before fading away. "Thank you," she spoke in a hushed tone. She was uncertain about the purpose of her statement. "I did not engage in many activities. It is unnecessary," Naruto remarked with a subtle gesture. "What are your next steps?" Kara felt compelled to inquire. "Consider taking an alternative route. I have a task I would like to complete before returning," he remarked with a subtle shrug while tilting his head to the side. "Understood. Indeed. It has been a pleasure to know you," Kara stated, extending her hand for a farewell handshake. It is unfortunate that he did not respond in kind. "Excuse me." Kara was somewhat taken aback. She noticed that Naruto's face was turned to the side, gazing into the distance with a look of astonishment in his eyes. As she turned her head in that direction, she was met with an absence of anything noteworthy. Kara waited for a few seconds without finding anything, and just as she began to doubt her instincts, a slight distortion in space caused her to gasp in astonishment. For an ordinary individual, it occurred almost instantaneously. However, for Kara, it occurred in an instant. The space contorted as a yellow portal emerged from seemingly nowhere. Before she had the opportunity to express surprise, a streak of yellow lightning surged out of the portal and vanished into the distance. The portal swiftly shut as its user departed. "I am quite surprised." Kara had scarcely completed her statement when she was interrupted by yet another distortion in space. A portal has re-emerged in the same location. This time, the portal exhibited a deep blue hue. Consistent with the previous occurrence, a vivid blue lightning bolt surged from the portal, advancing towards the location where the initial streak had vanished. The portal closed, leaving a perplexed Kryptonian and a contemplative Naruto in the same position. What was that? Kara inquired with a tone of surprise and curiosity. Naruto responded to this question succinctly. Unanticipated and unsolicited guests. Are there visitors? The perplexed voice reached his ears, yet Naruto disregarded it entirely. This promises to be an enjoyable experience. Kara's perspective, the environment surrounding me had changed significantly. In comparison to my home world, it was unrecognizable, significantly fragmented, and bore minimal resemblances. As I gazed into the distance, the vibrant lights, the vehicles, the structures, and the individuals engaged in their daily routines came into view. The lighting was rather standard, and the buildings did not stand out in any significant way. The designs presented a refreshing sense of novelty that is commendable. While it is indeed something new, its beauty pales in comparison to that of Krypton, in my view. However, in contrast to the tranquility and orderliness of Krypton, this planet possessed its own unique charm amidst the chaos. It possessed an experience I seldom encountered in my hometown. Existence. Amidst the massacre, chaos, and destruction that at times felt nearly insurmountable, I sensed the vibrancy, the autonomy of choice, and the inherent desires that resided within humanity. However, it does present certain challenges. Significant and substantial challenges. I could readily identify several examples at this moment, but that is not the focus, nor is it particularly relevant at this time. The sole element that evoked memories of Krypton was located in the sky above. Looking up, I observed a multitude of twinkling blue lights in the night sky. Observing celestial bodies. One of my preferred activities prior to retiring for the night, back on my home world. It was quite pleasant. The initial hours presented some challenges. Following the initial day of mourning, I gradually adapted to the situation. I made every effort to contain my sorrow and keep it secured for as long as possible. Thereafter, I had the opportunity to observe numerous elements. A machine was present. I understand that it was referred to as the cerebral transducer. In just 1 hour, I gained more knowledge than I could have in several months. While transferring a significant amount of information directly into my mind, I reflected on the numerous new discoveries about our planet. Unusual concepts that Krypton did not possess. Similar to the entertainment and sectors beyond the three primary factions of science, labor, and security, various activities exist, some of which may be unconventional but are nonetheless enjoyable. Similar to romance, affection and understood, we will proceed without that section. It seems that I have viewed certain content that may not have been appropriate. Television, sports, book clubs, superstars, music, and an innovative approach to democracy. I observed certain challenges, but I also recognized the positive aspects. Based on my observations, these individuals exhibited traits of treachery and deceit, along with paranoia and greed, among other characteristics. But they had something that we Kryptonians never experienced. A future. A future that was in their hands, ready for them to shape however they wanted. They were filled with hopes, dreams, and so much life, ready to chase after the desires of their hearts. It could be anything, really. Their lives weren't set in stone like Kryptonians, and they had no clue what was coming their way later on. That's why their future was so bright. Their free will gave them the space to grow, and as long as they didn't end up self-destructing, they were set to keep on evolving. As I watched people going about their lives, I felt my heart give a little thump. This was the life I always dreamed of, the one my cousin worked so hard to keep safe every single day. I got to see everything he had done. He saw exactly what I saw, and he turned into a symbol for that. We need to safeguard that light, that hope, that freedom. And now, just like them, I wanted something more. I just wanted to live a life like any other regular girl on Earth. I found myself daydreaming a little at that moment. But a voice like a splash of cold water snapped me back to reality. I guess this is where we say goodbye. You knew. So, you were thinking about asking to leave right now? Absolutely. I kind of saw it coming when you asked to leave the Axiom. He said it flatly, with his face and body language showing no expressions at all. Well, here we are. It's time to say goodbye. He was spot on. I really wanted to track down Kal-El. He was pretty much the only family I had left. I knew I had to meet him sooner or later. I was feeling a bit hesitant at that moment. Well, who really knows? Looks like we'll likely catch up again down the road. I was thinking the same thing. But it wasn't goodbye. Something totally unexpected happened, and it took us on an adventure, traveling across universes. Just like before, a flash of bright blue lightning shot out of the portal and headed towards the spot where the first streak had vanished. The portal shut, leaving a stunned Kryptonian and a pensive Naruto right where they were. Wait, what was that? Kara asked, her voice filled with surprise and curiosity. Naruto replied to this question with just 4 words. Surprise guests that drop by unannounced. Hey, are there visitors? He heard a confused voice, but Naruto just ignored it. This is going to be fun. As he said that, he took a few steps forward. Hey, where are you headed? As she watched him walk away, she just had to ask. He stopped in his tracks, turned to look at her, and raised an eyebrow. I'm going to chase after them. Those guys. Kara was taken aback before she responded. Wait, are those streaks of lightning actually people? Sure thing. Naruto just shrugged and replied casually. Those lightning bolts were actually people, you just weren't quick enough to catch it. But that doesn't really matter. I'm really curious about why the Flash is being chased by another speedster in this universe. His words didn't really clear up her doubts. If anything, they just piled on more questions. Hey, what's up with Flash? She recognized the name, but that didn't mean she knew a lot about it. She only knew that the Flash was a hero on Earth. How did it turn into an unexpected visitor all of a sudden? What does chased into this universe actually mean? The Justice League kept the overall situation of the League under wraps. So, all anyone really knew was that Central City's own hero, the Flash, had been MIA for about a week now. Naruto completely ignored the puzzled Kryptonian. He considered the idea of figuring out what all this was about, but in the end, he chose not to go there. Recently, Naruto realized that knowing everything whenever he wanted had become pretty dull. At first, it was pretty interesting, but then that feeling slowly started to fade away. That's why he never traded directly for the ability itself. Honestly, he was sort of relieved that he didn't. Just stepping out of the axiom, can you believe something like this would happen? It totally caught him off guard and, at the same time, sparked a fresh sense of excitement. Something really interesting had finally shown up at his door. Why would he mess it up all by himself? What was the fun in that? Isn't that fun? He let out a little laugh to himself. He squinted his eyes, and suddenly, everything changed. It was like flipping a switch. His vision sharpened, and he could see the scene unfolding miles away with incredible clarity. The space around him warped as he was pulled into another dimension. Wait, what? Haha. Hold on a second. Kara saw him leaving and quickly tried to stop him, but she was just a bit too late. Kara frowned a little when she saw the space. Did he actually just leave her here? He just up and left her here. This isn't the right spot. This isn't where Kal-El lives. Right now, she was just too far from Metropolis. Is she planning to walk there by herself? Darn it. By the fountain, a blonde teenager dropped her first curse word. All right. Hey, just take a deep breath. It's all good. It's all good. Plus, you've got super speed, so you can totally get there by yourself. ITLL, just take a bit more. Ah! Kara was lost in her thoughts when, out of the blue, she let out a scream. The space behind her twisted, and a hand shot out of nowhere, grabbing her collar and yanking her in with a swift motion. Things calmed down around the fountain, but it seemed like chaos was brewing in another part of town. Providence, Rhode Island, United States. The wind was really howling out there in the cold night air. The streets of Providence, which is the capital and the largest city in Rhode Island, had that typical hustle and bustle you'd expect from a city that's one of the first established in the US. The city really came alive in the evening, with its vibrant atmosphere and sparkling lights all around. Dad. Hey, Daddy. I really want this one. A little kid was excitedly pointing at the picture of an ice cream on the display board of the ice cream truck. "I want one as well." Another kid yelled out. Okay, everyone calm down." A middle-aged man stood behind the two kids, giving them a friendly admonishment while wearing a cheerful smile. The man couldn't help but feel a bit amused as he watched the two kids. One had eyes that seemed to be shaped like ice cream, while the other was already drooling a little. The chubby boss inside the ice cream truck raised his hands and signaled. 3 cones, each with 2 scoops of cookie dough ice cream. It seems like everyone is in a really good mood today. Is there a special occasion happening? The ice cream man asked casually, his friendly smile making it all feel relaxed. "I got a promotion." The guy just said that, without going into details. "Oh, well, congrats then." The ice cream boss grinned and pulled out 3 ice creams. "Sure thing. Hey, race one for each of you." "Thanks," the man said with a smile as he handed out treats to his kids and took their hands to stroll away. "Sure thing," the ice cream boss said with a casual tone. As he watched the man and his kids walk away, he frowned a bit and whispered something to himself. "All right, hop in the car, kids," the middle-aged man said to his kids in a relaxed way. Dad, are we not getting one for Mom?" the little girl exclaimed, her eyes shining brightly. "No, dear. She still hasn't come back yet." The man frowned as he turned on the car engine. "Plus, it's likely to melt before we even get home to toss it in the freezer if we decide to grab one." Thinking about his wife, who was always on the go, traveling a lot and hardly ever home, Tom felt a little bit down in his heart. His wife was away on a business trip, and she wouldn't be back until next week. That's what she just told him, at least. The original plan was for her to be back from her meeting with her client yesterday, but that didn't happen, did it? Tom's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter and tighter. He just got a promotion letter at work today and was so excited that he wanted to celebrate with his family. How about channeling some of that extra excitement into a fun, passionate night in bed with his partner? After all, it wasn't every day he got promoted. Who really knows? Maybe she'll accidentally get pregnant again and finally find the time to take a break from that job of hers, which seems to be taking priority over her family more and more these days. As he headed towards his destination, the car got caught in traffic while he drove a little absent-mindedly, lost in his thoughts. Knock it off. He didn't pay any attention to his daughter whining behind him as new thoughts started to pop up in his mind. Do you think she might be having a secret affair? Tom brushed those thoughts aside as soon as they popped up. He just couldn't believe it. Or maybe he just couldn't bring himself to believe it. They've been married for 13 years now. Tom was pretty sure that their relationship hadn't gone downhill to that extent. Even though it was a little frustrating, he wouldn't let himself think about his wife cheating unless he had some solid proof. He just wasn't that type of guy. But, he couldn't even recall the last time he had sex in months. Tom ran his hand through his thinning hairline, feeling a bit frustrated. "Dad," the 9-year-old girl complained in a whiny voice. "Junior's got his leg over on my side of the car," the girl said, her lips forming a cute little pout. "No, I'm not," the boy shot back quickly. "Are not?" "I'm not." "I am too." "Hey, you two, cut it out. Just don't let me go back there." He gave his little twins a stern talking to. He was the one who started it. The girl spoke softly. "All right, kids, I really don't care who kicked this off, but if you let me come back there, he'll wrap it up." While he was driving, something unexpected happened that totally caught him by surprise. A flash of yellow lightning shot out from a corner and zoomed right toward them. What on earth? Tom had just looked back at the road after scolding his kids when he suddenly screamed in fright. The guy quickly hit the brakes and spun the steering wheel to the side. The car that tried to swerve just wasn't quick enough to get away, and then the lightning bolt hit the back of it, sending the car soaring into the air before it came crashing down to the ground. The vehicle spun uncontrollably as the impact to the rear caused it to lose traction and veer off course. Tom, with his foot firmly pressing on the brake, was entirely disoriented. He attempted to recalibrate his approach and navigate effectively to prevent a collision, but regrettably, fortune did not favor him this evening. The vehicle accelerated towards an intersection and gradually decelerated. Before he could regain his composure, two bright lights abruptly entered his field of vision through the side door, nearly blinding him. Accompanied by the unmistakable sound of a moving truck horn, Tom's Nissan, which had served him for 5 years, experienced yet another collision. Bang! The vehicle was displaced several meters as it rolled onto its sides repeatedly before finally coming to a halt. It remained in an upright position, though it had sustained significant damage. The elderly truck driver, navigating from the opposite direction, appeared visibly shaken, as if the very essence of his being was on the verge of escaping him. Throughout his life, he had never encountered an accident. The heavy truck has collided with the front area of that vehicle, causing significant damage and rendering it nearly unrecognizable. He promptly applied the brakes, bringing the truck to a halt, before disembarking and proceeding towards the crashed vehicle as swiftly as his aging legs would allow. Observing the vehicle emitting small puffs of smoke, a chilling breeze surrounded him as he began to experience cold sweats on his back. Tom experienced a sensation of dizziness. His impaired vision struggled to discern anything ahead as the dizziness overwhelmed his senses. "What is my identity? Could you please inform me of my current location? Could you please clarify what just occurred?" His subconscious was tumultuous as a multitude of thoughts raced through his mind. "Hello." He appears to perceive a voice summoning him. "Are you all right?" "Am I?" As he slowly opened his eyes, clarity began to emerge. The ringing in his ears persisted, however. "Could you please clarify what is happening?" "Ah." At a significant distance, a figure lying on the asphalt emitted a deep, agonizing groan. As he turned his body, several painful moans were heard as he endeavored to rise. The brightness is quite overwhelming. What did I just encounter? Did I just make contact with something? The truck driver heard the exclamation, causing every hair on his body to stand on end. This is unfortunate. What is that? He reflected internally as he turned around and gazed into the distance. There, he observed something. Alternatively, an individual is rising from the ground while engaging in a vigorous stretch. Is that correct? Indeed. The experience was quite challenging. Upon observing the figure, the truck driver's initial fear and horror gradually transformed into surprise and shock. The individual in a crouching position examined his hands with great focus. The blurred vision resulting from his travels between worlds gradually diminished, and the ringing in his head lessened. He stood up, turned around, and directed his gaze towards the truck lights. Where am I? Indeed. It is certain that an impact occurred. I apologize for the oversight. Upon completion, his form transformed into streaks of yellow lightning and surged toward the wrecked vehicle. The driver's eyes widened at this moment, reflecting a hint of excitement. Red spandex tights featuring multiple yellow lightning bolt designs across the body, complemented by a prominent lightning symbol on the chest. Excuse me. There was a significant device on his chest area that emitted a blue glow. Was that a new development or something? The individual approached the vehicle and examined the interior. "Hello, I recognize you." The seasoned driver expressed enthusiasm. "You are the Flash, a member of the Justice League." "I see." The individual dressed in red was uncertain about how to react to the unexpected enthusiasm. However, Tom, who had ultimately regained his composure, remained indifferent. "Children, are you all right?" He called out while cradling his head, yet there was no reply. "Children." Tom called out with concern and glanced in the rearview mirror. He felt a surge of panic as he observed the distressing sight of his children. Their heads were lowered, and their bodies were securely restrained by the seat belts. Their arms and face were marked by numerous cuts resulting from the shattering of the glass window. "Annie. Junior. Rise and shine." Tom expressed his frustration as he disregarded the discomfort and confusion, making a determined effort to release his seat belt, which had inexplicably become stuck to the seat. "Are they?" Flash experienced a moment of complete mental absence. Observing the situation unfolding before him, he was engulfed by a sense of panic. "Hello, what are you currently engaged in?" The seasoned truck driver called out in a commanding voice, capturing his attention. "You are the Flash, correct? What is the reason for your continued presence in that location? Transport them to a medical facility or an appropriate location." The father abruptly turned his head in his direction, his eyes, once filled with despair, now illuminated with hope. It was clear that he was familiar with the Flash. Flash found himself unexpectedly at a standstill. Medical facility. Which hospital was being referenced in the discussion? Is it possible that the seasoned driver, noticing his lack of response, intended to convey an additional message? Nonetheless, his mouth suddenly widened as intense pain struck him. He glanced downward to observe a black hand protruding from his chest. Flash's eyes widened in astonishment and apprehension. This was the plan of the Resistance regarding other Earths. A significantly altered voice emerged, resulting in a dramatic shift in the atmosphere. Tom, still somewhat disoriented, experienced a chilling sensation that coursed up his spine, causing his body to tense. The voice was quite unsettling. "Did you follow me?" Flash's complexion became ashen. "I informed you." Flash. The hand withdrew from the man's chest, resulting in his collapse to the ground, as he lost his breath of life. Behind the lifeless body stood a figure clad in black attire. His form appeared erratic, flickering due to the high intensity of his bodus vibrations. Arcs of blue lightning flickered around his body, and with the dreadful horror mask on his face, he resembled the embodiment of a demon from hell. The Flash retreated several steps in alarm. There is no escaping the speed of the fastest man alive. Oh my goodness. Hello. What is happening? Indeed. Has there been an incident here? It appears to be a car accident. The vehicle was struck by a truck. Please call 911. Providence is not a small city in Rhode Island. The total population, while not comparable to that of Gotham, Metropolis, Central City, and similar cities, still exceeded 200,000 residents. A vehicle collision in the quieter areas of the city swiftly attracted significant attention. Unfortunately, this is not ideal. Individuals. The Flash observed all of this, and his expression became unfavorable. The situation was becoming increasingly unmanageable. At this moment, a gathering of spectators was the last thing he wished to encounter. Flash focused intently on the new arrival, only to discover that the latter's attention was directed elsewhere. Intriguing. The altered voice conveyed an unsettling quality as Zoom gradually rotated his head from side to side. This city. This world. The dark eyes concealed behind the unsettling demonic mask observed the surroundings with keen interest. Well-maintained streets, pristine air quality, unobstructed skies, operational vehicles, and well-illuminated structures. Observing everything, Zoom expressed admiration. This situation took him by surprise. Not due to a lack of prior experience, but rather the significant time elapsed since his last encounter with it. Years. This image is. It was outside of his usual experience. This occurred in a previous era. The period prior to the transformation brought about by he was distinct. Assumed leadership on a global scale. Earth, his domain. It was entirely different from this. No longer he was certain that this was not his Earth. This was not the world he originated from, and it was for that reason that the black speedster was even more captivated. Earths. There were other Earths. Entirely unfamiliar, pristine, and unchallenged. The concept of the multiverse. It indeed existed. New worlds, new possibilities, new speedsters empowered by the speed force. In those dark eyes, a hint of unrestrained madness simmered beneath the surface. The intense desire, insatiable appetite, and fervent ambition coalesced to create an extraordinary level of avarice. The desire for rapidity. A parallel Earth. Zoom articulated each word with deliberate clarity. Flashes of blue lightning coursed across his body erratically as his desire intensified with each passing moment. The rapid flashes of lightning swiftly captured attention. The gathering crowd quickly observed the two figures positioned opposite one another in a confrontation, eliciting a sense of surprise among them. Is someone present? Who are these individuals? Indeed. That individual exhibits an electrifying presence. Impressive. Excuse me, is this a film set of some sort? A few individuals struggled to grasp the situation promptly and inquired with a hint of confusion. Nonetheless, within the assembly, there would invariably be individuals who possessed greater knowledge than their peers. Excuse me, is that the Flash? Flash. It is difficult to believe that you are being sincere. I acknowledge the costume. It appears similar to Flash. Are you certain? I have always perceived that the Flash appears distinct on television. What is he doing here? Should he not be in Central City? That is several hundred miles away. What is that object located on his chest? I have not encountered it previously. Disregard that. It appears that he is addressing the individual in black. The one featuring blue electricity. Please wait a moment. Is he considered a speedster as well? I have not encountered this individual in any news coverage. Is it possible that he could emerge as a new antagonist? He is not a villain from Central City's rogue gallery that I have encountered. The audience expressed remarkable enthusiasm while observing the scene from a short distance. Opinions circulated among individuals. Some initiated discussions regarding the identity of the new individual, while others promptly accessed their phones, logged into their social media accounts, and commenced live streaming. Vehicles that would typically traverse this road came to a halt due to the obstruction. Individuals captured images, recorded videos, and engaged in live streaming. The entire venue became vibrant. Zoom did not acknowledge this. This was your plan, then. The ominous voice was notably loud, enhanced by the resonance of his vocal cords. The brief statement dampened the crowd's enthusiasm significantly. The tone and voice are noteworthy. All individuals present experienced an inexplicable chill running up their spines. Particularly when the man in black directed his attention towards them, a palpable sense of unease washed over everyone. Deep, dark eyes that instilled a sense of unease, accompanied by electric arcs dancing around his figure, along with sporadic, erratic vibrations that rendered him almost otherworldly, as if he were a specter. Additionally, the suit features a slitted mouth section on the mask. However, was that truly a mask? It appeared very natural. Any observer could assert with certainty that the figure present was a spectral silhouette from the underworld, and few would dare to contest this assertion. Alarming. The dark figure remained motionless, yet the intensity he exuded was unsettling to those who gazed upon him. Traveling to parallel Earths, in an effort to seek assistance for what you were unable to accomplish. Indeed, quite clever. His hand moved with remarkable speed as arcs of lightning illuminated the scene, seizing the throat of the men in the vehicle. The audience reacted with astonishment. It is regrettable that all your efforts will culminate in an unfavorable conclusion. Tom, whose throat was constricted, struggled intensely as he started to make choking sounds. Silas Stone and Harrison Wells are undoubtedly brilliant minds, developing a method to utilize the speed force for interuniversal travel. Exceptional. I will take this valuable gift you have presented to me and utilize it effectively. Upon my return, I will express my gratitude to them both by ensuring a swift and painless end, facilitating their meeting with you, immediately following my actions towards you to acquire what holds value for me. The Flash became rigid. His expression shifted from shock and disbelief to a grim demeanor. You were aware. You are not the sole individual with connections, Flash. Please release him, Zoom. He is not involved in this matter. This matter is confidential and should remain between us. Flash stated with gravity. The frustration in his tone was evident, yet the audience remained unaware of what else was present. At this juncture, they began to experience a sense of righteous indignation. He is going to severely harm that individual. What is the delay, Flash? Acquire him. Subdue him and ensure he is taken into custody. Zoom did not change its position. You and your resistance once attempted to lure me with bait. As he raised his right hand, his palm moved with remarkable speed, transforming into a physical blur. I am capable of achieving the same results. He then positioned the vibrating palm near Tom's heart. Let's evaluate the improvement in your speed with that device on your chest. Will you be swift enough to save him first, or will I phase my hand through his heart and send him to meet his maker? The dark eyes beneath the grotesque mask focused on the still forms of the two children. This does not pertain to your domain. Flash articulated through clenched teeth. Rescuing the individual proved unfeasible, particularly with Zoom positioned at such proximity. He did not achieve sufficient speed, even with the tachyon enhancer on his chest activated. There are individuals present who possess greater strength than you. If you continue this behavior, you may attract unwanted attention. He stated, presenting the most compelling threat he could devise. It appears you often overlook the fact that I am the fastest individual alive. Even he cannot deter me. The speed demon subtly inclined his head and proceeded. Let us evaluate the situation. Will they arrive on time to prevent me, or will I eliminate you first? Only if you are able to catch me. Flash stated as yellow lightning arcs manifested in his eyes. What would be the purpose of engaging in a futile pursuit when I possess the leverage? Zoom inquired. The voice was so distorted that it was impossible to discern any trace of sarcasm in that statement. Could you please clarify your statement? I previously communicated this to your predecessor. Heroes ultimately meet their end. Are you not a hero? At this moment, I would like to present you with an option. Zoom remarked as he redirected his attention to the audience. You believe you can create a disturbance and delay proceedings. I hold a different perspective. You have a choice: confront me directly at this moment, or I will systematically eliminate every individual in this city and pursue you once I am done. Unlike your predecessor, there will be no interference this time from Superman to prevent me from achieving my objectives. The informal remarks made were akin to an explosive disruption for the surrounding audience. The combination of the threat, Zoom's intimidating presence, and the Flash's reluctance to intervene instilled immediate fear among them all. It was only at that moment that they unexpectedly recognized that in the conflict between supers, ordinary individuals consistently found themselves as collateral damage. Remaining in this position, observing, was equivalent to a fatal decision. Proceed with urgency. He exhibits erratic behavior. A shout erupted from the crowd, prompting an immediate and chaotic dispersal as individuals hurriedly moved in various directions. I will begin with this individual here. His life is in your hands. Please make your selection. Observing the individuals dispersing in various directions, Zoom remained indifferent. In his perspective, these individuals were merely vulnerable entities poised for inevitable downfall. What distance could they cover in a span of 10 seconds? 10. 9. 8. He stated as he commenced the countdown. The fingers of his suit, resembling claws, penetrated further into the victim's neck, drawing out several lines of blood. Flash's expression became serious. 5. 4. 3. 2. Recognizing that time was nearly expired, the Scarlet Speedster clenched his teeth in frustration. Contemplating the fate of the innocent men who would undoubtedly perish if no action were taken, along with the thousands at risk should Zoom engage in a violent rampage, time seemed to stretch infinitely as Flash processed a multitude of thoughts. At last, his gaze became resolute, indicating that he had reached a significant conclusion. Subsequently, swoosh. The tachyon enhancer emitted a subtle blue glow. Yellow lightning bolts enveloped his form as he vanished instantly, the bolts racing into the distant horizon. The individuals persisted in their efforts to reach safety, while Zoom observed the direction of the departing Flash with a neutral demeanor. In a literal interpretation, visibility through the mask was non-existent. Today, an extraordinary event occurred. In the context of an opportunity for escape and the loss of thousands of innocent lives, the Flash made the decision to retreat. Observing the nearly deserted area, Zoom shifted his gaze to Tom, who was on the verge of asphyxiation within his hold. Subsequently, snap. In a swift motion, Tom's neck was turned to the side, producing a cracking sound. The body reclined against the car seat, entirely still. Lightning arcs illuminated the space around him as he navigated the area. All individuals within a 4-mile radius could only register a brief flash of blue before succumbing to an enduring darkness. Individuals of all ages, including adults, children, infants, and seniors. Regardless of age or activity at the time, all individuals met their demise. In under a second, Zoom executed a decisive maneuver and returned to his original position effortlessly. Embrace the pursuit, Flash. I am confident that I will. His statement concluded, and a brief flash of lightning was the only indication before he vanished. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching this amazing video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.